One of my favorite shows growing up was Kenan Kel, and any shows from the '90s from Nickelodeon I like Hey Arnold, Rugrats, Doug, Pete and Pete. The list goes on and on. But this video is this idea I've had actually for quite a while now, but I just never really got around to it. But it would be about 20 years later, Kenan and Kel, what their characters would be doing right now, and or what I would be having them doing. And start off with Kenan and Kel. Kenan, he would now be the owner of Rigby's, and I debate about whether or not he would be married or if he would still be a bachelor. Um, I think it would probably be best if he was still a bachelor. Still getting in the because it would be harder for to explain or try to get focus on the the adventures or misadventures that he and Kel would get in. Like he's always still trying to find that. He's to be the straight man and he's always trying to be calm and cool on his feet, but everything turns to disaster when he tries to go to his right man hand, Kel. And speaking of Kel, he would actually be a multimillionaire. Now, you remember the episode where Kenan, it was called Corporate Kenan, and he had to give a speech. Uh, he ended up being like the vice president of the company. Now they didn't know what the company was for, but all it was an accidental resume got mixed up, and Keenan became the vice president. Well, after the end of the episode, they found out it was for orange soda. Kel becomes the owner of that business, and he's a multimillionaire. But what he does is he doesn't really have to go to all the business aspects or any of the really the means. He spends most of his time hanging out at Rigby's, where Keenan works now, owns the place. Now that being said, well, what happens to Chris, the former owner of Rigby's? Uh, Chris retires, but then he can't stand being around his mom all day because he lives with his mother, and he's often refers to her in the uh, many episodes of Mother. You never see her, but she's often referred to, and Chris can't stand being retired, staying home all day. So what he does is he comes back to Rigby's, and he now works for Kenan. However, the situation's never really changed. Keenan's still irresponsible, uh, lacks the maturity, and Chris is still the one that's kind of taken all the responsibilities and uh, the more of the serious things that need to be taken care of, like the inventory and make sure the money's there. So basically, while their roles reversed, the lack of work, Keenan still does. Like, Chris still is the one that takes care of the store, but Keenan now is just the owner of it, while Chris is just now working for Keenan. That's the only flip side to that. As opposed now to Keenan's parents, his dad was an air traffic controller. His dad is now retired, and so is his mother. Um, I'm not sure if I would really though have too much focus on. I mean, you would have to have them, I think, in some episodes, but they're both retired now, and uh, but you still have that thing where Keenan's dad and Kel, they had that little rivalry, or that little frenemy relationship. So you still have to put them in place. Cal still causes Keen's dad distress whenever he's over there, or whenever they go over there to visit. Kyra, who had a crush on Cal, though she moved on from that. But her and Cal, they do have a special bond. I mean, like they're good. They're closer. They have a brother sister relationship. But and he looks out for her, and you could have an episode where Cal does look out for her, and like where she gets treated wrong by a guy, and then she goes to Cal for support. I mean, of course, Keen, but Cal's there for her. But I'm thinking like Kyra, she would. I don't know why. I think she would own like a beauty parlor or salon. I That's what I just think I would, because I remember an episode where it was the when Keenan hired the two people to act as his parents when they brought Principal Dimly over for supper, and uh, Kel had to make sure she stayed upstairs, and she was painting his fingernails. So it's like, why not have her, go on to be a beautician or own a beauty parlor or salon. Uh, Now the likes of Charla, it's still Kenan. She's still and she's still around. Anytime Kenan sees her, I guess that's still his one true girl. But obviously he has misadventures trying to impress other ladies as well. But and eventually maybe later on in the series you could have it like where like Kenan does end up with her. Cat would obviously be the best man and toast with orange soda. Uh, and they'd have his orange soda company. He'd have them cater to it as well. Um, and then yeah, the next door neighbor Mark. Obviously, he's like a mad scientist. Well, he could be a mad scientist, but a scientist nonetheless. And he went to Harvard. He could stereotype, and because he was the brainy one with the glasses and the nerdy character. And that's what I would say would be going on with the characters of Kenan and Kel today. I thought this would be a fun video to make, and feel free to let me know what you think they would be doing today, and feel free to share this video with others, and just to get discussion going, because I always love reliving 1990s Nickelodeon. The nostalgia factor is just awesome with that. So I'll leave a link to my Facebook page and my Twitter. You get updates whenever. And again, leave me feedback. Just discussion. I'd love to hear. Honestly, I'd love to hear from people that are also '90s Nickelodeon fan, a kid who grew up in the '90s, and still looking back and wondering where did Nickelodeon go wrong ever since the mid 2000s. But with that said, as always, I'm Nam, and always use your noodle.